when you're using an umbrella term like West Coast, I'm assuming you mean like everyone in the West Coast. So I'm assuming you mean Portland, Seattle, Bay, Angel City, San Diego. Let's throw Utah into the mix as well. It's a lot of teams, and I would
A
say
lot of
maybe
teams.
with the exception of Bay, right? Maybe with the exception of Bay, we're taking a look at those teams and saying that they underperformed this season.
Ding dong, mail's here. Welcome back to Attacking Third. It is mailbag time. Thanks so much for submitting your questions across our social medias at Attacking Third. If you're with us live on YouTube, drop some questions in the chat. We save them, we answer them. We want to know what is up with you guys. We got some good questions here, Sandra. We got some good ones. Thanks, guys. Let's dive in. Our first question from @PaulBrown2422 says, what are your way too early top 4 NWSL teams for 2025? Paul, I love this question. Thank you so much because early predictions are my specialty. I love
Yeah.
this. I have a couple written down, Sandra, but give me one. Give me one of your top 4 way too early 2025 NWSL teams.
Just one of my top 4. I gotta go with I'll go with Gotham. I'll go with Gotham as one of my top 4 NWSL teams. Just I love what they put together this past season. I think they're gonna be disappointed and motivated by the way they bowed out of the playoff run. I think I saw some folks out there saying that there was maybe a little bit of a choke, and I'm like, wow, harsh. But I think those are all motivating type of factors. And I think with a slew of that free agency class in place, coaching in place with Juan Carlos Amoros, and pretty good goalkeeper, I think they're gonna be all right. So I'm gonna keep Gotham as one of the top 4 teams.
That is a very fun shout. They have the biggest target on their back for
Oh
how they
yeah.
played this year, all the superstars. They also won't be without so many players next year, right? Because of international windows and what's happening. My shout's going to Washington Spirit. This is a team that has so many young rookies that not only contributed this year, but were integral parts of the success of the Spirit. You're going to have Croy Bethune back fully strength. You have other rookies like Hal Hirschfeld, who has significant time getting more call ups to international windows with the U.S. women's national team. She's going to continue to grow herself as a player, maybe shake off some of those rookie cobwebs that we
Yep.
saw this year, where she was a little all over the place. But you have Courtney Brown, McKenna Morris, Kate Wiesner, all players that got time this year to grow in their confidence and to shake off a lot of the college dust that they might have had. Plus, you have head coach Jonathan Giraldez, who will get an entire offseason to pick up any free agents he needs. He also will get an entire preseason to prepare his team for the long season ahead. And then you get Giraldez with a full season under this group. You're going to start to see Andy Sullivan come back from her injury, players just slotting into the mix that are going to grow. You also have a goalkeeper in Aubrey Kingsbury who wants to be on the national team, wants to be a starting goalkeeper at the international level, who's going to work so hard to get there. And with all that as the perfect storm, I would be very nervous to play Washington next
Yeah.
year. Look out for Washington Spirit. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got Gotham and Washington so far. Who's your other shout that you're going for top 4? Way too early.
I mean, I don't know if this is way too early or way too obvious, but I think we've got to include Orlando in the mix
Yeah.
here. I mean, they don't have the type of season that they just came off of, and we not include them in a top 4. Are they number 1? I don't know. That's one of the tough things about trying to run it back a following year. They're going to have a huge target on their back. We're not just talking NWSL champions. We're talking Shield winners. We're talking record holders. Barbara Banda, she going to get better somehow, or our team's going to try to figure out how to, limit her. But I think some of the moves they've also already made, they've got Banda locked up. They've got multiple players that are locked up with option years as well. So kind of similar, I think, to Gotham in that sense, where they've got a core group of players that they're going to have a lot of similarity going into 2025. There's no way we can't include them in a top 4 position right now.
Good shout for Orlando Pride, hands down. So Washington, Orlando Pride, Gotham right now. I'm going to go Bay FC. This is a team under Albertine Montoya that we really started to see towards the final third of the season what they can be made of. The players that they have brought in defensively, adding Abby Dahlkemper to that back line with Emily Menges, Alyssa Melanson, and Caprice Didasco, all have really solidified themselves defensively. You also have Savvy King, who's ready to get more time to grow with this group. Plus, Tess Bodie had established herself, and we only just saw a touch of Rachel Kudananji and Ashwala up top.
Nice.
Plus, remember Alex Lueta, who Albertine Montoya
Right.
to build his team around in the midfield. That was their first signing, their marquee signing as an expansion club. And she was out most of the season with an injury. She's going to be back next year. She's going to be looking to build, to get back into form. I compare this Bay FC side to San Diego Wave. In their first season as an expansion side, they were really good. It was very, very reminiscent of Bay this year. And then in the second season, what happened with San Diego, Sandra? They freaking won. They freaking won. So keep an eye out for Bay FC. This is a team that's going to go on a run this year under Albertine Montoya. I guess
I like it.
we're still in 2024. Paul, awesome question. Thank you. Okay, question number 2. What's up with NWSL West Coast teams performing below expectations? This question is from Pasasumo. I'm so sorry, I don't know. But what is up, Sandra, with NWSL West Coast teams performing below expectations?
Oh boy. I'm gonna I'm gonna go with Gaspar for sure. Look, Gaspar disagrees with you, Lisa. They thought that BFC underperformed. When you're using an umbrella term like West Coast, I'm assuming you mean like everyone in the West Coast. So I'm assuming you mean Portland, Seattle, Bay, Angel City, San Diego. Let's throw Utah into the mix as well. It's a lot of teams, and I would say maybe with the exception of Bay, right? Maybe with the exception of Bay, we're taking a look at those teams and saying that they underperformed this season. And look, shout out to this question because I think they're correct. Like that's a lot of teams, and to say just one of them was able to perform a little bit better than the others and find themselves into the playoffs. Maybe Portland and Bay can go back and forth about who had the better season, but other than that, everyone else was on the outside looking in for the most part. So I think there's a lot of factors into play. I think you got to go team by team. We need a whole other episode to target this type of question, but a lot of it is going to be perhaps maybe there were some teams dealing with, outside circumstances. Players can only control what they can control, unfortunately. But let's not act like those things don't affect them on the pitch. We saw big examples of that, I think, with Angel City specifically and San Diego as well.
Mhm.
And then maybe you can throw in Portland a little bit, but they happen to just manage and wrangle enough of their season to make a little bit of a run. But that's the beauty of an off season, right? You get to hit that reset button. You get to maybe take a look at some things, see where you can strengthen up and make a run in 2025. So I won't be surprised if maybe some of these West Coast teams find themselves more into the mix instead of less of it in 2024.
I love that you said that, listing out all the West Coast teams, right? You did Seattle, Portland, Bay, San Diego, Angel City, Utah. Someone in our chat was also like, Texas is West Coast. Guys, I don't think Texas is West Coast. But Houston did underperform this year.
You mean like Southwest? Like
Southwest?
Texas is really big. Maybe like the farthest tip of it, right? I don't know.
Exactly. Okay,
we'll
but
see.
you have to think about outside factors. You said it, Sandra. Angel City went through ownership change in this season. Seattle went through ownership change this season. Portland too, but like Seattle, right? When you're going through ownership change, you don't have money to do anything before your team is bought, and you can't get players in from England, from overseas, from other clubs. You can't offer them contracts if you don't have money. You can't do anything. You can just trade players away from you, but you don't want to do that because you won't be able to bring any in. That was probably the biggest issue, I think, for Seattle this year. They didn't have enough stability in their ownership and enough changes with money to be allowed players in and players out. Also, San Diego fired their coach when they shouldn't have. That's a blanket statement that I will stand by. That's a big conversation. Okay, we've got one more. This is a bonus mailbag question coming in from James Miller, who joined us live today on the YouTube page. James, thanks for this question. This is also a great question. How would you best use Michele Kang's investment to develop players and coaches? Well, first of all, I would have a beautifully big bag to hold all of my
Yeah,
money
number
in, just
one.
like her. I would dress just like her because she's absolutely fabulous. But this is a really fun question. I think a lot of it comes to education, right? And with all that money, you can not only hire um, educators to educate young players, young coaches, young referees, anyone within the organization, from the youth programs all the way to the top. But you can host seminars for them. You can host 3-day conferences where you're bringing in all these best people and having the very best in the world in football to talk to these people of all different calibers, all different levels. I think that's a really good way to use this money. Is it starts with the education. That's the first thing that came to my mind, Sandra.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a lot of money to throw around, and you don't want to throw it out without proper knowledge. So I would go ahead and co-sign that with you, Lisa. And in regards to development, I think I want to see maybe even in some tech. I think there's a lot of cool tech out there that could be utilized as part of that development, whether it's on refereeing side of things or in the coaching side of things to help kind of keep our young players and engaged and ahead of the game in terms of what the next best thing is. So I would also see if there's a chunk of that money to maybe go towards some of the tech, the digital tech that could be utilized for coaching and things like that.
Yeah, digital tech, a lot of good avenues. I'm sure Michelle Kang has a whole team of people helping her deploy this money, because when you have that much that you are giving to people to develop, it's going to the right places. Thanks everyone so much for your question. I love these mailbag segments. Let us know if you have questions. Hit us up on socials at Attacking Third, or let us know on YouTube in the community slide or on these chats. Ask us your questions and we'll get to them.